pathology. And this politics has a historical legacy, starting from the ethnic competition of the First Republic, coming to the military debasement of value, and today's new politics, which is founded not on any commitment to national development, but committed to two things: ethnic and just outbidding, competition among ethnics, and secondly, individual outbidding. Very important to bear that in mind. Second, I talk about inherited political culture. The other thing that has made this revolution impossible or has trapped it is that there's absence of a national elite. It's an absence of a national ideology of transformation. Nigeria has had moments to transform, but politics has headed back. And that's why the challenge for Nigeria is twofold, two ways. Either a ballot box revolution or an anarchical sort of violence-based revolution that nobody can define the direction. There's a guy who talks about revolution. No, the irony is that revolution has not always historically been positive. The only bankable revolution for Nigeria is a ballot box revolution. For two reasons. Because it has legitimacy and fits into the new geopolitics. The revolution of red beret or green beret outside mobilizing Nigerians towards electoral victory is both an illusion and a dangerous revolution. The real revolution is what Obident are talking about, ballot box. So our politics has been... So Nigeria has not been able to transform this endemic crisis because of low energy politics, low energy, elitist politics, structure, cohort, political leaders, take governors, honorable members, they sign agreement, give them return ticket, low energy politics. We need a high energy politics that focuses on the people, that goes to the grassroots, that mobilizes people, that is strong on messaging, that is revolutionary, in that is driven by a passion for change and transformation. We've not had that. We had some snippets of that in the Second Republic with parties like PRP. Parties that we are grounded with the people, parties that we are focused on mobilizing people to challenge the system. So the question then is, what is the solution? And I'm coming to the second point about why I think Mr. P2B is the person who can lead this revolution. Now, what's the problem? The solution is simple. We have to do a new politics that has three characteristics I put here. This politics must reject a rejection of false mythologies about Nigerian politics. The first mythologies is that Nigerian politics must go through a particular path dependence. It must be ethnic, it must be religious, it must hover around some so-called big names. That is not true. Today, the confluence of new technology, of the rise of narratives, and the poverty that's prevalent means that all of us here today can overthrow the political order and create a new world. You don't need to be anchored to any powerful name. We have to reject the mythologies that change is not possible. The mythology that if you don't have billionaires, you can't win elections. The mythology that INEC, though it is a bankrupt, flawed electoral commission, cannot be changed. It can be changed. The mythology that judges can safely continue to give judgments that are essentially political stimulus to electoral fraud. That's a mythology. Judges themselves can be converted into a new jurisprudence that recognizes and authenticates the people's will. We have to depart from these mythologies. We have to reject them. We have to reject also the idea of ethno-religious outbidding and competition. Nigerians have a common destiny to perish or prosper. We have a common destiny to be a poor people or to be prosperous. Our diverse identities are not themselves hindrance to transcending and mobilizing a common movement. Our leaders, those who have put us in this tragedy, have foolishly and criminally emphasized ethnic just difference. Nigeria is a contiguous zone that poverty can radiate across board and wealth can radiate across. There should be no geopolitical resistance to creating a Nigerian movement that answers to every Nigeria. That's what the Obident movement will be. And finally, the movement must develop a developmental consensus centered around the two concepts I've spoken about. And now let me say a bit about why I think we have found an ideology for revolution. The notion of a democratic citizenship is that governance is centered around the citizen. When I was advisor to Foreign Affairs Minister Chipojo Modekwe, and we are thinking around what concepts can we use to ignite a new consciousness. We said, let's talk about citizen diplomacy. The Nigerian diplomacy should be focused on the well-being of its citizens. Now, all of us know Chapter 2 of the Constitution. Unfortunately, that chapter has been neglected by political parties, which is a source of the ideology of change in Nigeria. Democracy has three dimensions. The first is political, equality, justice for all. But the most important one is economic. And it simply talks about the practical implementation of economic policy must be to do three things. One, economic growth. Growth is critical. Growth is where our politics should focus about. Two, it must be about the welfare of the citizens and well-being. We must create inclusive society. Three is that all our leaders must be obsessed. Every Nigerian leader must be obsessed about Nigeria's economic growth. It's very important. Today, part of what's driving both political and insecurity is that we are not producing wealth at a level that we can share equitably to ourselves. That's very important. So the Obident movement must signal economic growth as important. Now, what does it mean to talk about the issue of democratic developmental state? This is very important. I have studied economic growth. I have not seen a country, no matter their potential, that grew without a leadership that is almost mad about development. You can't create economic transformation through a government that does not see everything about how does these actions, investments drive growth, improve well-being. You see, Nigeria, in 1960, if you look at the Time magazine of the American Time magazine, the cover story was Nigeria 1960. It says this is a country with promise for Africa. Nigeria has failed that promise continually because the Nigerian political elites didn't want to become what Singapore became under Lee Kuan Yew, or what Korea became under General Park, or what China became under Deng. What did they become? These leaders clearly said that our focus is the development of our country. Not everything was done to make sure the country developed. And what does that mean? You cannot be talking, for example, today about spending billions on a coastal road projects. I mean, I have people on Twitter who have read no economic textbook arguing as if elephant projects are not development. Development must be connected directly to outcomes that expand capacity for production or improve human capital for production. If you do projects that are scattered and not connected and not tied to directly to this project, they are not developmental projects. So the problem is that we have to become a people who, a leadership that is agonizing day and night. How do we grow our economy? Again, let's not forget, in 1960 it was better. We're living today in a much more difficult global politics era. That nations are now going to compete against themselves. Nations now need their smartest and their most competent leaders who can get forth and resolve this crisis. Nigeria can no longer continue with the old style of Emiloko, old style of prerogatives, old style of let's come and share the loot, old style of how much can we do to buy this person. You need leaders who are going to go there, understand how the economy is working, and bring people together and create wealth. Now, why do I think Mr. Tinubu is the right person to lead at this moment? You know, there's something I've learned earlier. Every leader you see, look at their profile. I have a theory called the biographical theory of leadership. People don't lead beyond their experience and who they are. Many of us will say, oh, that man, I used to respect him, I didn't know. No. There's a verse in the Bible saying, lay no hand on man suddenly. You should always ask, where is this person coming from? Because leadership is not straight from your personality. Leadership is who we are. Leadership is paying attention. Leadership is the passion, what drives you. Now, let's look at those who have got it right in the past. Let's take three examples. The man who put China on the right path then was a member of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. He was sent to Russia, Paris, and instead of going to the classes for the ideologues, he went to the factories, thinking about how the West create wealth. When he came back to China Mao, even he was in prison for some of his views. He didn't know history, but what he did was take the party and said that we must change this. What he did, the first thing he says, wealth is good. Second thing he says, pursue truth too fast. Third, he says, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or white as long as it catches mouse. This man was pragmatist. He understood how to take the party and turn it around. He's a member of the old order, but his passion, his commitment is about how do we make China become great. Let's take Liu, who went to Oxford. Now, these people, some of them are educated. Then didn't go to Oxford, but they share one thing in common. They have the pedigree of commitment to the well-being of their people. They have the personality of being decisive, being quiet but clear-minded, being soft but firm. They're not swashbuckling warmongers. They're not cracking heads and breaking bottles, but they are decisive, clear-minded where they are going. Take General Park, the same thing. Some are dictators, some are democrats. What qualifies Mr. Tinubu to lead this revolution? And that's the point I said. At first, profile. Who he is, what I've done before. I watched an AIT interview and I was just laughing. People forget that not just infrastructure, security, Anambra was the best, the safest state in Nigeria then. Was the safest. In fact, some of the technologies used for crime prevention were being borrowed by police in Imo State elsewhere. Nigeria doesn't need a leader who will break bones. Nigeria needs a leader who will stimulate a new behavior through the subtleties of intelligence and persuasion. The reason why Nigerians have not escaped from the power dependence of contradiction is because they are web, there's a web that ties them in. The leader who can move Nigeria must be a leader who is prepared to cut off all ties. A leader who is positively selfish, that focus on the outcome and forget every embeddedness. We can't save Nigeria if we're embedded in the corrupt neo-patrimonial system. We are embedded in rewarding all our friends, all our families. We are embedded in rewarding all our villages. You can't, because Nigeria is almost verging to a criminal state now. So the leader for this revolution must be a man who can step away from this cobweb of corruption and incompetence and fiercely move us to the right direction. We don't want a person who belongs, a person who shares. We're looking for a philanthropist. None of these leaders move their country from this trajectory of failure to success. We are philanthropists. They had two things going for them. They were passionate for what they want to do, and they were prepared to even suffer themselves to get it done. The fierceness of sacrifice underlies all this. I want to stake my intellectual sincerity on the stake that so far, of all people who want to lead Nigeria today as president, I've not seen a man whose discipline, whose willingness to sacrifice, whose single-mindedness, whose commitment to the basic welfare of ordinary people trumps that of Mr. Tinubu. I am a critic, not a flatterer. I am a critic, so I have a right to, I can present everybody. I can tell you that the reason why P2B fits this moment is that this moment calls for disruption. This moment calls for someone to extricate us from a deadening and self-reinforcing cobweb of corruption. You can't get it out the normal way. We cannot get to development through the same patrimony that has characterized our politics. We need a new politics, and the Obident movement is that vanguard for the politics. I would like to end on this note. The great American sociologist Margaret Mead says, "Do not neglect what a few people can do." He said, in history, what matters is what few people can do. It was few people, 3 people in Oxford who dreamt about making Singapore great. Lee Kuan Yew and his colleagues, and they came back and diligently plotted the path to what is today Singapore. We are very flamboyant people, able to carry the book from thought to all cabinet members have the book. We like to show off, but probably will not read it, will not meditate, will not think about it, will not practice what we read. We claim too much. And I want to arouse us that this country is not anywhere near great. This country is almost miserable. This country is worse off than our West African neighbor. I went to Sierra Leone to teach their security officials for 2 weeks and I saw teachability. They were willing to learn. Here, nobody listens, nobody learns. We are in a dangerous spot. But the thing, everything in life is created apart from God. Everything is created. Poverty, hope, failure, success. These young men and women who were only 4 in the room,